Y'all need to help Stephen Phillips out over there. Out the door and off the radio.
Here's Stephen Phillips.
Okay, welcome back to the Morning Dish, and I want to introduce a very special family member, Steve Dwoskin, and he is going to answer a lot of questions that we have that was going on either in the horse industry, the Kentucky Derby, anything you want to ask, and I know you, Stephen, had some questions for.
I do. Good
my
morning,
wonderful-
sunshine.
Yeah.
How's the weather in Florida?
Say hello.
Everything's fine here.
Right.
Yeah, we're glad
Sunny
you're
and
on.
bright.
Golly, man. I wished I could live in Florida, but yeah, you know how that goes. But no, anyway, you know all about the horses, and we've been arguing about it. And Pat Malone, Pat, you there?
I'm here.
We were talking about
Hey,
the Kentucky. We were talking about the Kentucky Derby, and they had like 7 horses pull the pin during the race. Is that pretty common?
Well, it could happen. It's a couple of years ago at Santa Anita, they had 40 horses die in a short period of time, and they contributed it to the base of the racetrack. They had to put a new base in, and then they made it a lot stricter to run a horse, where the vets make the medicine that you can give a horse prior to a race. They got it a lot stricter, and they fixed the problem. But on the 7 horses, 2 of them broke down the day of the race. In other races, that happens. That happens just like a football player or a basketball player. If God wanted racehorses to go as fast as they go, he would have given them bigger and stronger legs. So when you run these horses year round, you're going to have problems. So those 2 that broke down the day of the race, I don't contribute that too much to the racetrack. The 2 that died, they don't know why, that weren't on the racetrack. That's very interesting, and they still don't know why. But a lot of trainers use medicines that the vets can't detect, so that's still questionable. And the other 3 that broke down prior to the day of the races, again, that happens in this game, in every racetrack, except the whole world was watching Kentucky, so I don't think it's really a big problem, other than the 2 that just died without any reason.
Well, now you said that
That's my
these trainers, they give them horses medicine, I guess, to make them faster and stronger and all that kind of stuff that they can't detect. I mean,
well, it doesn't make them go faster as much as it takes pain away, where they should be out on the farm repairing themselves. It masks the pain, and it makes them run, and then they break their legs. That's what happens.
Well, that's big
Steve,
money.
Steve, what about the concept that we're starting the horses too soon? That 2 and 3-year-olds, maybe 3-year-olds ought to be running, but 2-year-olds should not be running yet until those bones build up enough density.
Well, with the 2-year-olds, their knees have to close, and you're right. They are racing them before the knees close. And when I started in this game, we didn't race year round. We gave the horses 3-4 months off, and we didn't start them till late in their 2-year-old year, not in March and April of their 2-year-old year. Yes, I agree with you.
Thank you. I notice your stable is having a good year so far. You got 20 out of 31 starts in the money.
Yeah, well, that's the way this game goes. In other words, I can go 2 months without a win, and then I could have 4 wins in a month. So that's why I love this game, because it's not easy.
Now, are you based out of Gulfstream?
Yes. Well, I was at Calder,
Yeah.
and then when Kentucky, the same people, Churchill Downs, changed it around, it made it, I had to get out of there. So, yes, I went to Gulfstream about maybe 10, 12 years ago.
I noticed a lot of your horses that you've got are out of Starship stables.
Yes.
You got a special relationship there?
Most people know Starship. He's the Marlins man. He watches the baseball games sitting behind the plate. And the reason I train with him, or we own a lot of horses together, is in this game, it's very, very, the reason I train my own horses is because I don't trust many people in this game. So I was watching him, and he was getting billed for horses that were dead. So it was, I felt bad for him, and he was a friend of mine. So I said, Lawrence, I'll take a couple of your horses. And then I'm ending up with all of his horses. So, yeah.
How convenient is that? So how
It's
many?
not really what I want to do, but he's a friend of mine, and I want him to get a fair shake.
So how many horses do you generally keep and train during the season?
Well, I used to have 40, but as I get older, I don't want the grief and aggravation because at the racetrack, having the employees there, it's like a circus, you know. It's
Oh, yeah.
people that can't live in our society, so they end up at the racetrack. So it's not easy with these people. So I have 20 now at Gulfstream, and probably another 20 in Ocala that are ready to come in, but I have no room for them, and I don't want more than 20.
Well, that's a lot to keep up with. I'd like, if you ever need a jock, man, I'd like to be a jock. I'd like to ride one
A
of them.
jockey, Stephen.
Yeah, whatever it is, I want to ride one of them horses.
It'd have to be a real suede back one, though, wouldn't it, Steven?
Do y'all have shorter horses that I don't want a tall one. I can't hardly get up on a tall one.
Steve, the other thing I noticed is you seem to concentrate on mares and geldings. Do you not deal with the studs?
Well, Lawrence likes to breed these horses, so we buy. He buys, and we go in partnership on mostly fillies. That if they become a decent racehorse, then we could breed them, or he could breed them, and have another way of making money or getting his money back.
Yeah. Good
So
point.
it is breeding season right now, right? So how many of those horses that you have are going to be bred?
Well, we bred a horse called Bonita this year. We bred her to Justify because Justify was a great racehorse, and so at my age, I don't want to wait too long for horses to 11 months in the belly and another 2 years before I could run them. So I'm not into breeding like Lawrence is, but I don't mind taking a decent mare and putting her to a decent stud and hopefully someday be in the Kentucky Derby.
Oh,
Steve,
man.
That would be awesome.
Can you give us some context on what like a breeding fee for a horse like Justify would be?
Well, Justify was $125,000, but we got it for $80, tailor-made, and Lawrence are buddies, so we got a good deal on it. And the colt was born about a month ago, and we're real excited about it. So if I'm going to breed, I'm definitely going to breed to a good stud,
Right.
not just an ordinary stud because those I could buy at the sale easy, small money.
So what is like? Okay, like you've got a racehorse. What is as far as how long does a racehorse actually race before y'all retire the horse?
Well, in my barn, they race a lot longer than most barns because the minute we have a problem with a horse, we don't inject it. We don't, mask it with medicines. We send it to the farm and let nature take its course and heal it.
Right.
So my horses last. I have some that are 7 years old and still running. See, in horse racing, like anything else, the harder you push them, the more they'll give you.
Mm-hmm.
Big trainers that have hundreds of horses, they can go up to a 9 where 10 breaks them down. I got to go to about 7, meaning I can't push them like they do because it's my money and
right.
I want them to last. So these other big time trainers, if they break them down, they just bring in another one, So
it's all about the money. Sounds like they want that.
It's all
horse.
about the money.
Yeah,
Yes.
push that horse.
In your case, it sounds like that's a good philosophy, though. I see you got more than almost $19 million in lifetime earnings for your horses.
You did your homework, huh?
Yeah, Pat is also into horses too.
But
you owned horses, Pat, right? Or you had horses?
Yeah, but not thoroughbreds.
No.
We own Tennessee Walkers.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
It's a losing business.
Yes, it is.
Years ago, I used to sell my good ones. I sold one for $1 million that I paid $50,000. I sold one for $500,000. Actually, I sold it to a pretty famous guy. I sold Patino, the basketball coach.
Kentucky.
Yeah. So I sold him a few horses. But now, as I get older, I don't want to sell them so quick. So, but the reason I'm in this game, this is interesting, is not to make money. If I break even, I'm happy. But the win is like nothing I've ever had in my life.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Actually, it is like something I had, but I can't say that on the program. But anyway, it's unbelievable. And the loss of a horse breaking down that you really liked, there's worse things in life than that. You could lose a loved one, like a mother or father, is much worse.
Right.
So the upside, I can't find anything higher than a win, any win.
Mm-hmm.
But the loss it could be worse. So I played golf. I've had boats. Nothing's like horse racing.
Except my beautiful Aunt Debbie. She's better than horse racing, right?
Don't put him on the spot like that. Are you kidding me? She said,
horse racing, Debbie and Jennifer have a relative that had cancer, and I named the horse after her, and they already brought hospice in with her, and at the same time the horse was running, and the horse won.
Mm-hmm.
And we sent her a picture and a video, and she called us up 3 days before she died and talked to us for a half hour about the horse race.
wow. Now you're heavily involved in the cancer.
So that's the kind of game it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve is very heavily involved in cancer research. He has the Dwoskin Proton Therapy Center, which is affiliated with the University of Miami, and he also now is into the Children's Research Cancer Lab. Is that the right word for it? Cancer laboratory?
Yeah, research.
Yes,
Research lab.
research.
Lab. So yes, he has a heart for everyone struggling with cancer.
Well, that's the
and to
thing.
find a
There's
cure.
nobody in this world that has not been touched by cancer in some shape, form, or fashion, whether they've had it or a loved one had it or lost a loved one or something like that. And I mean, it's just, man, I'm ready to kick cancer's tail. How about you, brother?
It's unbelievable. I lost a father, and my brother was 51 when he died of cancer. So I have to try to do something to help it.
Well, I'd say you're doing a lot. Yep, you're
Yes.
absolutely doing a
Yes,
lot,
he
and
is.
I mean, hats off to you for that. And I mean, honest to goodness, and that, like I said, cancer is just everybody's been touched by it. I don't understand why they can't figure out the get go on it. I mean, but I don't.
One more thing about horse racing.
Yeah.
Anybody who watched the Florida Derby and watched this horse, Marge, who won the Kentucky Derby, should have made a lot of money. And because in the Florida Derby, it ran against the same horse that Forte, that it was the big favorite. And the jockey Saez that was riding the horse, he was dead last in the Florida Derby, and he moved him much too soon, took the lead. And if anybody that knows horse racing watched that race, you'd have to bet him in the Kentucky Derby, especially with Forte not there. Getting 15-1, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that is.
And
Great value.
Yep.
no, big value. And thank God I saw that. And I could buy a new condo now with the money I made.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Well,
Get one
Steve,
up here,
yeah.
man. Come hang out with us.
Yeah, build a track up here.
Yeah.
I heard that I'm gonna have condos right next to me, so he could just move in.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd like live next to the funeral home, I know.
Funeral home, the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have all. Man, Steve, we sure appreciate you,
Thank
brother.
you, Steve.
Hey, my pleasure. Now I can go to work and make real money to pay for my horses.
That's
There
right.
you go.
There you
There you go.
Bye, Steve. Bye, Debbie. So-
Bye, Jim.
Hey, bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, how interesting. I could talk to him for hours.
Oh, he's
I
fascinating.
could just listen to him and Pat talk.
Yeah.
Pat done his research, man. I didn't get to ask none of my questions.
Actually, the most fascinating thing is when I go and meet Debbie and Steve in Ocala when they're trying to pick out the race horses.
Right.
It is fascinating. They walk out the colts, and the way he could study and know a winner just by how they walk blows
Right.
my mind. He is so gifted.
That's the thing about it. I wouldn't know one horse from the other. Sometimes I get the ends mixed up. I tried that horse race. I mean, not horse racing, but I had a couple of horses there for a while. I thought I was John Wayne. And, man, I tell you what, after I fell off a couple of times and ended up in the emergency room, I thought, heck with this. I'm not.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, John Wayne hated horses. If I'd have
didn't
known
know
that. He loved boats.
No
He loved
way.
boats, hated horses.
I
so
didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay.
Of course, I'm like Pat. I had one of them old. I had a Tennessee Walker, and then I had another horse. I don't know what it was. It was stupid.
It was stupid.
Yeah. So I like deadheads. We call them, or work horses. That's what Papa always called them. You know, you can't get them to hardly run. You know, you try,
Yeah,
but you just can't get them to run. They just kind of mope around. But
It's the best kind of ride, ain't it?
yeah, that's what I like. Mine was stump broke. You know what stump broke is?
Never heard of that term.
That's because I'm short. It knew that it had to get beside a stump for me to get up on it. So
You trained it to do that?
no, it just felt sorry for me. I think.
At least you didn't have to carry your little stool around.
Yeah, that's the only thing about it. God, but anyway, we got to jump to a break. No kidding. And man, that was great, Steve. We appreciate you. Thank you for spending a little time with us. And remember, you can tune in every morning at WJULradio.com at 8 a.m. Eastern. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook, The Morning Dish.